Hello, my name is Amy Lightfoot. I work here for the British Council in India, and we are here at the 11th Language and Development Conference in Delhi. I have with me Srikant Sarangi, who was one of our plenary speakers, spoke yesterday at the end of day one. And Srikant helped us to extend our discussions to the use of language in the healthcare field and healthcare sector. Srikant is based in Denmark at the Danish Institute of Humanities and Medicine, as well as being an honorary professor at Cardiff University.
That's right.
So, Srikant, I wondered if you could just give us a little summary of the key messages that were in your plenary session, and then we'll have a little discussion about some of those.
Okay. Well, first of all, I must thank the British Council for inviting me, because when I took up the invitation, I was quite intrigued by the title of the conference. Mm-hmm. And of course, very fitting for a country like India to foreground multilingualism, both as a challenge but also opportunity. And with my interest and research in healthcare, with one aspect touching on multilingualism, I was looking to see what we can learn from the healthcare sector, from the wealth of research in multilingual education. Mm-hmm. So what I was trying in the plenary is, apart from giving the healthcare field broadly in Europe, which is multicultural and multilingual, or what is being called super diverse, what can be learned from research practices and policies in multilingualism in the education sector. Mm-hmm. So this is a great kind of a way to interact and take knowledge and insights from one field and see whether we can address issues mm-hmm. and optimize provisions and services. Mm-hmm. So the message I was giving yesterday was to see whether there is a possibility to translate some of the research insights in the field of multilingual education in a country like India into a different domain of medical education. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And I can see synergies of that. Mm-hmm. The second one is to show that under the term multilingualism, the amount of research that exists in migration studies, in many different parts of social life, somehow need to be consolidated so that we don't have to always keep reinventing the wheel. Mm. So my feeling was, during the plenary, to get that across, mm-hmm. that we need to engage a lot more with multi-whatever mm-hmm. research mm-hmm. and to see what works and what doesn't, and if we can benefit from those insights.
So it's kind of like multilingualism and across multidisciplines in a way,
that's
isn't
right.
it? And
yeah.
the different contexts that it takes place in.
That's right.
Now, I think that's very interesting, and I think it's also, it's one of the things that, from my understanding, that the development sector struggles with, and that things tend to be quite siloed. The development and education tends to work in
in one aspect.
Yeah, whereas development in agriculture or development in healthcare, they sort of, they run in parallel to each other rather than being interwoven across.
But that silo thinking also applies even when we think of development studies and development more broadly.
Yeah.
So you can imagine, hypothetically, a student could be much better in using 3 languages, mm-hmm. but fail in physics and mathematics.
Right.
So one has developed mm-hmm. at the expense of something else.
Right.
So we have to talk about a more ecological, holistic way,
yeah.
disciplinarily, but also about individuals. So you can't just develop one faculty of your child at the expense of something else.
Yeah. But I do think it's interesting, and another thing that I've thought about quite a bit is how the education sector, in fact, it needs to be looked at outside of just the schooling system, because yeah. education underpins so much around
absolutely.
Healthcare
including
development.
Including parents.
Yeah.
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 Absolutely.
And communities, the understanding of healthcare practices or medicine and all of that kind of thing. It's all about education and training at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Isn't it?
And
yeah.
we simply have to expand the range of where we look for the kind of answers we want to have for the questions. And fascinatingly, the research in Europe is now talking about language policy at home, not about the governments. So parents from different lingual, cultural backgrounds are now trying to take control of how a child is brought up multilingually or multiculturally. I know of studies where they're trying to, parents insist that the language of the dining table is X. And the language of the bathroom is Y. Because you have to have some policy to sustain these two languages. You can't leave it to schools, you can't leave it to the governments.
No.
So policy and practice are not really separable. We shouldn't. But if you don't go, and I would really ask how many scholars in India have gone outside of the school to look at the playground and the family homes and whatever else.
And the hospitals
or
and
where,
the clinics.
Of course. But even within the education sector, I'm saying, even if you don't go to the hospital.
Okay,
So even within the education sector, and parents have a big role. Do we know enough about multilingual practices and policies in different states, in different middle class and working class families? We don't.
No.
So it's a huge amount of
work to be done.
in this field. I think this field is not going to disappear.
No.
But are we just brave enough to branch out and look for evidence elsewhere? Because the solutions might lie there, rather than trying to change the policy from 3-language formula to something else. And I'm not an expert
just in the school environment as well.
I think that, so that's and my background and interest in healthcare just gives that kind of an avenue. That what you are doing here, I would love to expand
and transpose it, isn't it, to
translate
different.
And transpose it.
Very interesting.
So a lot of work will be done, but that's what we will always like to say.
That's right. And now we just need to do it.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, that's great. And how have you found the conference? Because you know, there's lots of sessions that have happened over the last couple of days. Have you?
I think what has taken me by surprise, and I don't come to India in a professional way that often. I can't even remember when I was at a conference of this magnitude.
Because you're originally from India.
Yes, I am. But left a long time ago. But the academic culture, professional culture is so different from elsewhere.
Right.
But it's no, it has been very, very dynamic and active. And that's not surprising because a topic like multilingualism is in everybody's backyard. So I'm quite taken by the non-stoppable nature of participation after a talk.
It's not theoretical, is it? It's just
no, but people have so much experience. Of having brought up multilingual children or whatever, families and mixed marriages and so on. So I can see that the conference becomes a conversation. About experiences, which is not a bad thing, but that really means, and I think you have this agenda setting, what we pick up as possible areas to explore in the future. So maybe these experiences are telling us something, that these need to be evidence-based research, empirically grounded. Who does it is another issue, where are the resources, but India needs that. Otherwise it's too superficial, an argument, almost politics.
Yes, definitely politics, I think.
but this topic, you cannot separate.
No, that's right.
So you have chosen a topic which is bound to generate a lot of passion, ideologies, and experiences. Of course, lacking in theory and data.
Interesting.
But lots of lovely conversations about what is, almost real, a fact of life.
Great.
So yeah, no, I've enjoyed the conference, and
Good.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for coming, and thank you very much for sparing the time to come and have a conversation as well. Thank you for watching, and the plenary session that Srikant did yesterday is available to watch as well. The link will be alongside this video, so please do take a look if you haven't had a chance to see it already. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.